Well, this is quite the way to start 2023. I spent about an hour recording a video for tonight. We got a lot done. I beat Radahn, Mohg, Godfrey, Morgott, and you want to know what happened to the footage? I'll just put a clip up on screen. It's ridiculous. This video is sponsored by Aoya.com. Head there to purchase Elden Ring runes, weapons, armor, anything that you need to aid you in your journey through the lands between. Use the link below in the description or head to Aoya.com and use code Grotesque at checkout for 3% off your order. Thank you to Aoya for sponsoring this video. Yeah, with that being said, it sucks that my first video of the year had to get messed up so horrifically. What sucks even more is obviously with like Elden Ring, it's not a game where you can set up saves to where you can like save, and then if something gets messed up, you can return to that save point, if you get what I'm trying to say, kind of like how older games did it. By older games, I mean like PS2 games. I know, those bosses are just beaten for this playthrough. All the funny moments and jokes that I had throughout the video is just, it's gone now. It doesn't matter. I'm so annoyed. But I won't let that stop us. Today, we're going to be doing an Elden Ring Remembrance bosses tier list. Obviously, in our first playthrough, we went through and defeated every single Remembrance boss. Oh no, my light just got even more dim. Nothing is going right. Is this how my year is gonna go? Is nothing gonna go right? Look at it. I use this little like desk lamp when I'm recording back here to light up my face, and it just went dim on me. Hold up, let me look for a charger for it now. Oh, did I forget to mention the fact that this morning when I turned my PC on, it wasn't even working? Like, it booted up to a black screen, and it just wasn't doing anything. The PC was on, you know, all the cables were connected, it didn't do anything. Let there be light? It doesn't seem like it's much brighter. How's that? No, now there's a weird glare on the camera. Oh my gosh. Well, let's just hope that it randomly gets brighter as we record. First things first, it got a little bit brighter. First things first, we have Estelle. Ooh, where do I think I'll put it in A. This boss is pretty cool. My only complaint with it, now I don't know if this is my fault or if I'm just not that good at the fight, but personally, I had trouble getting hits in on him. It felt like I was only getting a hit in like every minute or two. That's honestly my only complaint with it. Besides that, his moves were telegraphed really well. The spectacle of the fight was insane. He can summon in like these giant galactic boulders to shoot at you. And again, he looks cool overall, and he gets his own dedicated arena, which looks sick. Personally, I think he deserves to go in the A tier. Next up, we have Elden Beast. I'm also going to put this one in A, basically for the same reasons as Estelle. Sometimes it's hard to get a hit in with how much he moves around, but he looks really cool. His arena is probably my favorite in the game. It's such a different color scheme for what we normally see in Souls games. You know, normally it has like a greenish or a reddish or a bluish hint to it. We haven't really seen like a yellow tinted boss fight or arena like this. At least not that I can recall. Yeah, the fight overall was pretty solid. My only complaint is that you don't have access to Torrent during this fight. However, I do understand that having access to Torrent probably would break the fight a little bit, might make it a little too easy, but considering the fact that it's a new mechanic they brought into this game, I feel like it's only fitting that you'd be allowed to use it for the final boss. I feel like they should have let that up to the player to decide whether they wanted to use Torrent or whether they wanted to stay on foot, especially when you consider how much Elden Beast runs away during this fight. But again, it's not that bad. Once you start moving towards him, he gotta start moving towards you, and it bounces out. It's not as bad as some people make it out to be, but just for that, I have to keep it in A. Fire Giant, I'm gonna put it in F, and I'm not gonna talk about it. If I talk about it, there's gonna be all the toxic Souls fans that come in here telling me why I'm wrong. I'm not even wasting the breath. It's a new year. My day is already going a little rough as is. Let's keep the positivity up. Cadre the Grafted. It deserves that. I must say, this boss kind of terrified me the first time that I fought him. Once you get to the second phase, you know, like, cuts his own arm off and, like, it becomes one with the dragon. It's insane. My only complaint with this boss, which is a complaint that I have with many bosses in this game, are the Nameless King timings. However, you know, now that I've beaten the game and I've fought most of the bosses a couple times, like, I'm starting to get used to it. And once you really try to hone in and learn each of the boss's timings and their moves and how they're telegraphed and their combos, it's really not that bad. However, I must say, whether you're a newcomer or whether you're coming off the heels of, like, any of the other Dark Souls or Bloodborne or Sekiro games, it's definitely a little tricky to get adjusted to. Oh my god, it just got brighter. Another cool mechanic that I forgot to mention about Godric is the fact that I believe he's the first boss you encounter where you have to jump to dodge some of his moves. I really liked how they did that because, you know, jumping and crouching, it could have been like an easy throwaway mechanic. Just like, yeah, you know, it's an open world, so, you know, you need access to those movement skills and they could have left that at that. But the fact that they incorporated it into this fight, it's so masterfully as well, to a point of where it almost works into your own combo because you gotta like dodge, jump. The way it just all comes together so beautifully, it's only something that FromSoft could do. Godfrey / Haralue. A tier, maybe. I don't know. Does it really? I don't. Maybe a B. I didn't really find this guy that memorable. And now, don't get me wrong, he's sick. And I know in terms of lore, like he's a huge deal or whatever. Don't even get me started on his transformation cutscene when he like kills the lion or whatever he was doing there, and he became like one with it. I don't know. He's a really cool boss. It's just for some reason when I think about Elden Ring bosses, I don't think of Godfrey. Like he doesn't come into my mind until somebody specifically mentions him. But again, that's not a diss or anything against the boss. I think he's a perfectly fine boss. I love fighting him. He just doesn't really stick out in my mind. I'd be lying if I said I had any idea what this boss is. I'm gonna need to do a Google search. That's another thing I find in this game. There's like so many bosses that I forget about half of them. It's just hard to see because it's so small, but I think this is meant to be Lich Dragon Fortisax, in which case, I'll put it in a solid B. It's not a bad boss by any means, but again, it's another one that doesn't really stick out in my mind, especially since it's so far off the beaten path and you have to do so many different quests to get to it. Again, that's not a knock against it. It's just if you want to fight that boss, you're going to have to jump through a lot of hurdles to get to it. Its moveset wasn't bad, but again, I don't know. Dragon fights are just kind of starting to blend together in my mind. There's like 30 of them in this game. Well, that might be an exaggeration, but it feels like there's a lot of them in this game. Like, off the top of my head, I can think of like 10 that are in the game. I don't know, with there being so many dragons, it just starts to kind of feel like a been there, done that type thing. Again, not a knock to the boss by any means, it's just, I've done that song and dance before. While we're on that topic, Plasudasax, or however you say his name, I'm actually gonna put him in A tier, just due to the fact that he gets his own arena. His arena looks sick. He looks different from the other dragons, so it's enough for me to rank it higher. Like, the other ones are just dragons, while this one's like a dragon. I found this to be one of the more in fact, I would call this the most challenging dragon fight that I've endured up to this point. Obviously, I haven't fought in Midir and DS3 yet, but up to this point in my Souls career, this is definitely the hardest dragon fight I've been involved in. It's definitely a boss that requires some patience and requires you to not rush into it thinking you can just take him because you're a high level or whatever. Like, no, you need to learn this guy. I fought him on New Game Zero at like level 130 or 140 or something like that, and I still got my shit rocked. This is definitely one of those Souls bosses that you need to learn, respect, and do the dance with. Let me tell you, if you go in there with like not enough vigor, that opening lightning attack is going to destroy you. Malenia, I would put S tier just because it's an amazing challenge, but I have to put it A because, yes, it's a great boss. Yes, the spectacle is there. Yes, I'm a mommy Malenia simp. And in fact, I don't even have a problem with the waterfowl dance. I think that move in itself is just fine. You want to know what I have a problem with? The lifesteal. I can't stand the lifesteal. Like, if she even, like, breathes on you, man, she gets, like, tons of HP back, and I'm not necessarily saying it's bullshit. I'm just saying it's not fun to fight against. In terms of mechanics, though, like everything besides the lifesteal, I think the boss is amazing, and the fact that the waterfowl dance is there and it requires such frame-perfect accuracy to dodge, I think is great. It means only the best of the best are truly going to be able to beat it. That's why I called my video fighting her, "This is the real final boss of Elden Ring," because she essentially is. Put it in perspective, I would rather fight 6 Radagons and 6 Elden Beasts before ever facing Malenia again. I love the boss. I just respect my sanity enough to not do it for at least 6 more playthroughs. Oh, not the floor, not the floor, don't! Malekith, S tier. The first phase is whatever, but the second phase, hands down, I definitely can't say it's my favorite in Souls of all time. My favorite would definitely still be Soul of Cinder. That is my favorite boss that From Software has ever done. But second favorite would definitely be Malekith. He has ranged attacks, he has close range attacks, he has like mid-range combo attacks, like he has it all. He isn't too aggressive to a point of where he feels like bullshit, but he isn't too slow to where he's a pushover. He's like right in the middle. He's right there. He slows down, jumps across the pillars, does his ranged red wave attacks. Those require a little bit of like precision and timing to dodge correctly and efficiently without getting hit, and then you got his combos that you can dodge through if you time it right. Because while he doesn't necessarily have the Nameless King type timings that you come to expect with most of the bosses in this game, there's still a few delays on his attacks to where you have to be cautious of what you're doing and not just spamming the dodge roll button like previous games would have let you do for the most part. And plus, the aesthetic of the boss in the arena, I don't know why, I just love it. Again, though, I do kind of feel like the first phase was a little unnecessary. Like, the fight really gets started and really becomes fun once Malekith comes out and goes apeshit. Mohg is gonna go D for me. Nah, that's not really fair, because with the proper build, he's not that bad. Does he deserve? No, he doesn't. I'm gonna put him C. Now, while he's not a bad boss necessarily, I can't stand by bullshit mechanics, man. There is no way to evade the ceiling stab move. I have read through many forums, my own comment section, Reddit threads, GameFAQs threads. Nowhere I have looked have I found a way to counter or 100% evade this attack unless you have a very specific item. And I know while yes, if you have that item, you're fine, you can survive it, no problem, but the fact that you need to seek out that very specific item just to be able to fight the boss without, risking taking damage, I think it's complete bullshit. If a player takes the time to learn a boss efficiently and correctly, and if they learn how to dodge and block and parry through all the moves, then I think that that player deserves to be able to get off a victory where they don't even get hit once. The fact that they need that item, I can't get behind that. I like when a boss, it just comes down to your skill. You know what I mean? Like when the whole fight just comes down to your skill and no other gimmicks. Those are the best bosses in my opinion. Again, that's just my opinion on the matter, but if you want to shit on me, go for it. I'm not losing sleep over it. I'm always open to civil debates. But the people that get like real toxic and take it real personally, like you just kicked their dog, I'll just never understand why some people take it so personally. Anyway, Margit is gonna go S tier. Wait, is this Margit or is this Margot? Aren't they? Well, they're the same. Oh wait, no, this would be Margot because you don't get a remembrance for beating him. Okay, well, regardless, I'm gonna put him S tier. While I don't really like the fact that he's used twice throughout the game, once being the skill check at Stormveil or before you get into Stormveil, and then at the end of the game before you get to the Erdtree, I don't know. I feel like there's a lot of recycled bosses in this game, but that's a conversation for a different day. The fights in themselves are different enough for it to not be an issue for me. The only reused parts in these fights really do just become his character model. Outside of that, especially once you get to the second phase of Morgott, it is a completely different boss. I'm sorry if I sound like a broken record when I'm trying to describe some of these guys, by the way, but it's like, a lot of the bosses have very similar design in these games, so it gets hard to give them unique appraisal. Like, there's only so many times where I can say, hey, the arena looks cool, hey, he looks cool, hey, the fact that his combos are timed in such a way that you have to be, efficient in your dodges and stuff. Like, there's only so many times I can say that. But basically, anything I've said for any of the other bosses goes for Morgott, but even though my appraisals for these bosses are relatively the same, does not mean that these bosses are the same. It just means that my appraisal for these bosses or my compliments are just kind of universal, which is a good thing because that means that all of these bosses share very good respective traits that are fun but challenging and still fair to fight against. Don't even get me started on the one move he does. Like, I've never even gotten hit by it, but I just think it looks so cool when he like gets that giant freaking ceiling of like knives that just start like shooting down at you that you have to like evade real carefully. I love that. The music for this fight was also pretty sick. And I'm not gonna spoil it for you, but if you've never done any lore research on Margit or Morgott, definitely do. It's pretty crazy. Radagon is gonna go S. Yeah, you know what? No, it's gonna go S tier for me. I really like the Radagon fight. In fact, I think Radagon on his own could have been the final boss. I loved fighting this fool. This was another classic Souls boss where every death felt like a lesson, where each time that you died, you were getting closer and closer to defeating him. He has a wide range of moves. He can like absorb your magic and shoot back lightning bolts at you. He has the giant ground slam attacks. He can like fly up in the air and do an even bigger attack that takes up like the whole arena. And then when you get up close to him, he has the up close combos where you have to be very careful and calculated. He swings overhead, he swings from below, he swings from the side to bonk you in the ribs. This is one of those bosses that goes like right up there with like Soul Ascender for me because I love those fights in Souls games. Don't get me wrong, I love the big grandeur fights where you're like fighting dragons and giant monsters like Radahn. But I love those personal fights where it's like it's one-on-one, it's neck on neck. You guys are like exchanging hits. You don't know who's gonna win. It's very tense. I think the thing that I like about these fights the most is it's not like the dragon fights or the other bigger fights where it's easy to just run away, avoid some damage, heal up, and then come back when you're ready. Like, no, he is on your ass the whole time, and you work around his schedule. He's coming for you, and he's gonna do whatever he wants regardless. Like, you don't have a say in this. You gotta make sure that you're calculated on top of your game, whereas with bigger enemies, you can run away, and the boss can kind of work around your schedule. Like, okay, let me catch up to you, let me attack you. But no, with this, it's like, you gotta make sure that you're paying attention to every move, step, and breath that he takes. Because even if you try to run away, there's a chance he's gonna do the giant ground slam attack and take out the whole arena with his lightning waves and just turn you into a pile of Play-Doh. Radahn is gonna go A tier for me. Oh, no, what am I saying? He goes S tier. This is honestly a fight that I don't know how much I want to go in depth about. Like, I've talked to a lot of people that have honestly just been too scared to fight Radahn or haven't fought him yet just because they've heard about it, but seriously, if you haven't fought this boss or if you've never seen it, I can't do the disservice of spoiling for you. You need to experience this fight, whether you watch a clip on YouTube, whether you do it for yourself, just absorb all of it. The spectacle, soundtrack, and then afterwards, I'd say go do some lore research, but like, this is one of the few characters in the game where they genuinely explain the lore to you. Like, when you're talking to the characters, they kind of explain the character to you, And then even after you beat the boss and you talk to some NPCs about the fact that you beat him, like you get even more lore about him. And it's kind of nice putting the pieces together by yourself in the game. Yeah, this is definitely one of those special fights where I think you just need to experience it for yourself. Regal Ancestor Spirit. It's gonna go C. It's not a bad boss. Not very memorable. It looks cool. The arena's cool, but it's alright. Renala is gonna go A tier for lore reasons alone. When it comes to gameplay and I mean, even without lore, actually, I think she does deserve that A spot. Can I put her S? I don't really know, because the amount of summons that she calls in by the end of the fight sometimes, when you're still under-leveled and you're not exactly destroying her, as I have been able to do with, like, Guts Greatsword, then yeah, by the end of the fight, it gets pretty annoying when she's calling in, like, 30 summons every minute. Yeah, her arena looks cool, and from what? Yeah, she's, like, the only mage remembrance boss as well. You know what? I'm gonna keep her in the S tier. Now that I think of it, I really like this fight because there's 2 phases to it. The one in the library, it's a nice callback to Deacons of the Deep. And then you get into the second phase, you get there, the arena looks cool, she looks badass, casting all the magical spells. I think for me, it's just the aesthetic of the fight. It looks so good and it looks so cool that it sticks with your mind. It's one of the most memorable bosses in the game, in my opinion. Let's not forget the fact that she's the one that lets you respec afterwards. Like, it's one of the best features of the game. So for that, yeah, you know what? She deserves the S tier. Finally, Rykard, ending on a good note. S tier. This is actually the final remembrance boss. Wait, was this the final one that I beat? No, the final one was Blood Dragon, I think. Maybe it was Asta. I don't know. Whatever the case. It was one of the last ones that I beat, and it's definitely one of my favorites in the game. Well, yes, it's a little gimmicky because it's the Yorma the Giant situation where you have to pick up a very specific... Well, you don't have to pick up a specific weapon. At least I don't think you do. I just chose to. But it's definitely the optimal way to do it because once you start abusing the L2/LT attack, the fight becomes pretty easy. You're able to knock out either his first or second phase in about, I don't know, like 10 hits. This is another one I really wouldn't want to spoil for anybody, especially since this is another one that's a bit off the beaten path, and I also know plenty of people that haven't gotten to experience this one just because I'm pretty sure it's entirely optional. So again, if you haven't experienced this one, please do so, and if you have like 3D headphones or surround sounds or something to boost the audio, please wear those or turn those on as well. The Volcano Manor quest as a whole is just one of my favorite in a video game, period. I loved that quest. It's my favorite in Elden Ring, hands down. If we can get more quests like that in future games, I would love that. Just being like the Agent 47 for the Volcano Manor family, that was such a sick concept to me. I loved that. Not to mention, there's a bunch of branching side quests there, like you have Patches and you have Raya. It was executed so well. I love it. However, one complaint I have is it is a little too hand-holdy. Like, it tells you exactly where to go on the map. I do kind of wish they could have found a way to maybe make it, like... Remember Morrowind, like the old Elder Scrolls games, how they would only ever give you hints or, like, landmarks to look out for to get to your next objective? I feel like something like that could have worked here. Like, he usually hangs around, I don't know, the scavenger shack out in Limgrave, and then you have to go look for him, then you see him out there, it's like, is that the guy? And then maybe, you know, the note could say, like, he's usually found wearing, like, I don't know, a red Scooby-Doo bandana. And you look at him, you see the red Scooby-Doo bandana, you're like, oh yeah, that's my guy. Then you pull out Guts Greatsword and just, like, slice him in 5 pieces. That's personally how I wish it could have been done, so then it was a little less hand-holdy, but I do understand why they did it the way they did it. I mean, the world is massive. But anyways, going back to Rykard, yeah, he definitely deserves S tier. Nothing is more badass than having this Serpent Hunter and just, like, pulling it back, getting the power of the storm or whatever it is that your friggin' sword is summoning, and then just whipping it at him and seeing his health bar disappear. It is sick. Yeah, that's my tier list. Now I want to hear from you guys. Do you agree? Do you disagree? Let me know down in the comments. Anyway, as always, a shout out to the patrons, Karma's Fake Grandma, Lobity Tab, Big Daddy Mandy, Desperado, Chalupasaurus, Rex, Razak, Polar, Ray, De Webster, Lil Mouse, Bianca, Spurgatory, and Dripper Croissant. Again, I'm sorry that today wasn't a normal Elden Ring episode, but as you saw earlier, I had to record it, but something happened to it. I'm really hoping this isn't a sign for how my 2023 is gonna go, man. It was just... I've not had a good morning so far. Anybody kind of sad about the bosses not being included? Also, don't worry. I mean, obviously, we're going to be doing another 4 playthroughs yet because I believe there's 6 endings in Elden Ring, and we're going for literally every single one, so don't worry about missing the bosses that just couldn't properly get recorded in this video. You'll see them 4 more times, yeah. Yeah, thank you guys for watching. Have an amazing day. Stay beautiful. I love you all. And remember, don't go hollow. Peace.